Hi, you guys. I'm here with another episode of Morning Cuppa with Shannon. Sitting outside again today. It is almost winter here in Australia, and the weather is absolutely gorgeous this time of year. So we get pretty much summer all year round, 4 seasons of summer. But winter summer is cooler. It's like in the 20s, whereas summer is like 30s, 40s, like 98% humidity. It's absolutely atrocious in my opinion. But if I had to choose between like minus 40 degree weather and 40 degree high humidity, I'd still pick probably the 40 degree high humidity because I'm not going to freeze to death. Anyway, I mentioned on my last, sorry about the car noise in the background. I mentioned in my last video about that I went to the university last week and to do some practical work, which I did. I also mentioned that I had been a stay-at-home mom and wife since about 2009-ish. And yeah, so my point of telling you guys that was basically that last week having to go to the university. So I live hours away. I live about 2.5 hours away from the university. And that's driving. But as you get closer to the city, the traffic just gets really bad in the morning. There is a major problem with rush hour traffic driving into the city where I'm from. And I've never taken the train here in Australia before. And I was feeling quite anxious, like probably for a week or so leading up to having to go to the university. So I was taking Tulsi, which I did a video, one of my other videos about, in one of the herbal blends that I was taking leading up to going, just to calm my nerves and that sort of thing. But last week was basically when I had to go to the university, was the first time I had to kind of be a part of the rat race since 2009, since 2009 or 2010. So I always talk about choices, like choices we make in life determine how our life is. And obviously there are things that are out of our control and there are things that are within our control. And of course, things happen to us that are out of our control, but it's how we deal with those situations and how we dig ourselves out of that situation that we can move forward and deal with those situations, and how we get back on track and, bounce back from negative situations. So, the choices I've made in my life brought me to a place where I haven't had to go to work, and I've been given the gift of being able to stay at home with my kids and stay-at-home wife since 2009. And I'm very, very grateful for that. And also through choices that we made as a family, was able to homeschool my kids and get out of the rat race. To me, like when you have your kids in school, and like some people like really love being a part of the rat race, but I love not being a part of the rat race. And some people thrive on having that routine and having other people, like society, make that routine for you. So if your kids are going to school, if you're working a job, or you have commitments that, basically your schedule is made for you. So if your kids are in sports, the sports schedule is going to be made for you. If your kids are in school, the school is going to make your schedule for you of when they have to go to school. Work, they make your schedule for you of when you have to go to work, that sort of thing. And I really live a lifestyle since 2009, since 2010, where I haven't had too much of that in our family of people saying you have to be here at this time. Obviously, for things like dentist appointments, doctor's appointments, any commitment really is going to dictate your schedule. So for me, living a lifestyle outside of the rat race has really been the best thing. It's really the best way, like, for me to live. It allows me and my kids to be able to pursue things that we want to pursue, our interests, things like that. So, it's a university kind of does put that on you too. Like, so obviously I had to go to the campus. That was my first real on-campus clinical work that I had to do. A lot of the degrees been online nowadays. Since 2020, they changed a lot of how they do things. So when you do an exam, a theory exam, not a practical one, you can do it on your computer now. That changed in 2020. Before that, you used to have to go to the university and sit there. So I'd have to travel a few hours to the university to sit my exam. But in 2020, with everything going on, they changed it so that we could do our exams online, but they have this program where they watch you do your exam through a webcam, and you got to like show them your surroundings and things so they can see that you're not cheating, and they're watching you like to see if you're cheating and stuff like that through the webcam. So that has actually been one positive thing that came out of that whole scandemic, was the fact that I can now do most of my exams at home without having to travel to the universities. That's really good. That's a positive thing that came out of that situation. And so I laugh because most of that time was very negative. Most of that time was a negative experience for a lot of people for different reasons. The fear around many different sides of that situation was next level for people. Some people weren't scared. Some people were. It was just a crazy, crazy time in history, which I feel like now one side of it is trying to just forget about it and like just sweep it under the rug, and let's just forget about the way that we treated people during that time. It was a time where people's true colors really, really came out during that time. And yeah, a lot of the things that happened during that time were obviously very negative, but I feel like there is some positive things to think of about that situation. And I think before that time, a lot of the media was very against natural health. And, a lot of the mainstream media still is, pushing the pharmaceutical stuff like they did in the scandemic. But I also feel like one of the positive things that came out of that was that it really opened a lot of people's eyes to the pharmaceutical industry and what's happening there, and exposed a lot of it. So there was a lot of exposure of negative things that have been happening in the world that have been allowed to happen for years. And, it really brought a lot of awareness to people about the pharmaceuticals and things like that. And I guess one of the other positive things out of that situation is that I feel like people are really turning more to natural health more than ever. Maybe not more than ever, because in traditional, like years and years ago, that's all there was before pharmaceuticals were invented in the early 1900s. Before that, it was all, herbal medicine and traditional medicine mostly. So I think the positive thing is that we're slowly going back to that. A lot of people are slowly going back to that as the pharmaceutical industry, more exposure of the negative side of that is coming out. So I feel like that is a really good thing that happened. But unfortunately, the way it happened was very, not done in a nice way. But, sometimes people will think, why is all this bad things happening? And people think like, you know, some people might even question whether there's even a God because of all the bad things that happen in the world. Bad situations can have positive effects on us, like what happened in 2020 onwards was really bad, and people got treated really poorly who had a difference of opinion. They were called all sorts of names, like tinfoil hat wearers, conspiracy theorists, like all this stuff. And yet many of these so-called conspiracy theories have come true. And I feel like, yeah, one positive thing is just like bringing awareness to some different situations. Whereas before 2020, I would say that like that since 2020 and all that happened, that I think that more people are interested in natural health and herbal medicine and really like going a natural route now that they see how the synthetic drug cartel is, it doesn't always have people's best interests at heart, and that players, different players in the game of power, don't always have like the best interests at heart of the people. So that's a positive that's come out of it, is just that people are leaning more towards natural living than they have in a long time, going the natural route. So that's good. Okay, getting sidetracked again. What I wanted to talk about, I was talking about the rat race. So anyway, I've never taken a train in Australia before. It's my first time. So I was anxious about that because it's just so silly. I was like, these are all just little things, but it's crazy how a bunch of little things can add up and then make you anxious about having to do something that you haven't done for a while. So I was feeling quite anxious like a week leading up to having to go to the university because I haven't been like part of the rat race in a while. And I was thinking like, I've never taken the train before. I don't know when I'm supposed to get off the train. What if they don't tell me? Like all these silly things, you know, that were just keeping me awake. So the night before I had to go, I tried to sleep and I couldn't sleep. I didn't even get a wink of sleep until right before I had to wake up. I remember right before I woke up, I was having a silly dream about something. Very silly. I can't remember what it is now, but so I thought, okay, I think I got like a really light sleep because I was dreaming. It was very, very light. So anyway, I went, I was going to drive all the way there the first day because I didn't know where the university was. But as I started driving, there was no traffic except for like me and other trucks on the road because I left about 5 a.m. And then the closer I got to the city, the traffic started getting worse and worse and worse. And people were driving so aggressive. People drive really aggressive in the morning time when they have to get to work. So either they're going to be late and they're driving really aggressively. It's nuts. So like halfway, actually further than where the train starts here, the traffic just started getting worse. And I thought, this is dangerous. I can't believe people do this every day, but they have to, right? So I decided to get on the train and take the train down instead. And I'm so glad I did because I didn't have to worry about directions, find out where I'm going while looking at a map while in this crazy, aggressive rush hour traffic. I didn't know if I would get stuck at a certain point. All kinds of things. Sorry, I just have to see what time it is. Okay, I'm good. I've got to take my kids to sports in a little bit. Because I made the commitment to take them to sports. So that's part of my rat race. That's part of my commitment of schedule being made for me. But for the most part, we make our own schedule other than like sports and things, the commitments that we've made. So I am on the train, and the train where I get on starts off quiet too, lots of seats, and then as you get closer to the city, it fills up and there's less and less seats and that sort of thing. And I get off at the station at the place, and actually it was so good. The train they have an announcement. They made it so easy for you. It's so much easier than I think the subway and trains in Canada. They actually tell you like, oh, the next stop is this, and there's lots of warning before so you don't miss your stop. I get off and I leave the train station, and I'm walking around for about 45 minutes trying to find, I'm just walking around the same block because Google Maps is telling me that where I need to go, the entrance is here. So I kept walking to the entrance, say like it's 1 minute away. And there was this block that the train station is in the middle of this block. And then around the outside of the train station is like all these individual shops and apartments and stuff like that. So I'm walking around this block in the city looking for the entrance of the university for 45 minutes around the same block because Google Maps kept telling me the entrance was here. And then I get to that point, I look around, and there's no entrance. I'm like, where is the entrance to this university? So I should have been about 45 minutes early to the university that day. I'm walking around, I'm like, trying to be fast because I'm going to be late. And then I'm walking again, and Google Maps keeps telling me a different entrance. So I'm basically just walking in circles for 45 minutes around the same block. Finally, out of desperation, I'm either like, okay, I need to call the university and ask them. But what I did first was I stopped, and this lady was walking. I feel bad because I was like, oh, I don't really want to stop anyone because they all look like they're in a hurry trying to get to work or wherever they're going. So I felt bad, but I stopped and I asked this lady where to go. I was like, I said, do you know, like, I asked for help. And this woman was walking in the same direction as I was. And she figured out where the university was. And it was in the complete opposite direction to where the direction that her and I had been walking in. So this lady walks me to the university, and I'm like, oh no, you don't have to, like, I don't want to make you late for where you have to go. And she was like, no, I'm gonna walk you. And she just like, she wouldn't take no for an answer. And she's like, no, I'm gonna walk you. And she just walked me there. It was like 5 minutes away. Actually, probably like 7-minute walk away. And she walked me there in the complete opposite direction to where she was going. And she walked me there. And it was like God sent me an angel. Because there is no way I would have found the entrance to this place had this woman not walked me there. Like, if she had tried to explain it to me, give me directions, I wouldn't have found it. It was in the train station. Like, the entrance of the university is in the train station. But, like, around the corner from the train station, there's, like, this high-rise building in the middle of this block. This city block. And the only way to get into the high-rise is to go in to the train station, and it's in the middle, you know, where the train station is. There's no way I would have found the entrance to that. And it doesn't explain that on, like, the university website either. So I was just like, thank you so much. Like, to this lady, I didn't have any cash on me to give to her. Like, I wanted to offer her something. I had nothing on me to give to this lady. And I was just like, thank you. Like, thank you so much. Like, you're an angel. Like, thank you. Like, was so, so nice of that lady to do that. Such a beautiful act of kindness for her to do that. It was a complete opposite direction to where she had to go. Anyway, so that was really lovely and such a beautiful act of kindness of someone that helped me out. So thank you to the lady for doing that. I get to the university finally. I'm the last person in class. I'm like 1 minute late, but the teacher hasn't like introduced herself or started talking yet. And I was like trying to figure out what room it was in. I asked the receptionist, she helped me. By the time I got to the classroom, I was almost in tears because I didn't want to be late. And here I was like doing the right thing, taking the train early, trying to be 45 minutes early. And then I ended up like 1 minute late, for class. And I was like trying not to cry when I got into the class. It's so silly. It's so silly. Like when you're outside of the situation or you have time to reflect on it, you look and you're like, that's so silly. Like, why would I be upset? But when you're caught up in the moment at the time with all the stress and everything, like first time taking the train, then I couldn't find the place, and then I was like late, a couple of minutes late or whatever to class. It was just by the time I sat in that chair, I was like sweating hot because I was walking around this block for 45 minutes, like in a hurry trying to find, and I was like, I knew I was going to be late if I didn't hurry up and find it. It was crazy. But also what was crazy was the train ride was crazy to me too. Like looking around and observing people on the train. I'm not a crowd person anymore. Like I used to really just love being around people and going out and having fun and love the city and all that. But now I really enjoy quietness. I enjoy my own company. I enjoy the company of a few people, and I'm not really a big crowd fan anymore, like of going to things and being around a lot of people. And we were just like packed into this train like sardines to this train. And I took the train halfway home and then drove the other half of the way home. And then I did it again the next day. And the next day was a lot easier because of just went way smoother the next day. But it was like just such an eye-opener and such a good reminder of what the rat race is like when I had to get on the train and be a part of the rat race again, of doing that. And looking around and observing the different people on the train. And it was an experience, doing that again. I hadn't experienced that in years. And on the way home from the city one day when we were all packed in there like sardines at rush hour, this is at like 3:40, taking the train out of the city. So there's school kids, there's like people like of all ages. The train is packed, and I noticed like there was a lot of women standing up, even young kids, high school girls and stuff like that, and also elderly women and things like that. Women standing while a lot of the men were sitting in seats. And I don't want to be judgmental here or anything like that, but it did cross my mind to think like, if my sons were on the train, I would make my sons, I would tell my sons to give up their chair for women. And the mentality on the train was like, even with these schoolgirls, high school girls, and that it was like this mentality that like, oh, they're young and they don't need to sit, like, because they're young and fit and whatever. And if my boys were on the train with me, I would still have them give up their seat for a schoolgirl who's young and fit. I think, anyway, it just amazed me. I remember I was thinking, like, in my mind, perhaps I was being judgmental. Was a little bit judgmental, I have to admit. We can all be judgmental at times, but I was thinking in my head, like, why don't some of these men, like, just, like, give up their seats for some of these women who are standing. And yeah, I didn't see any of that. And then all of a sudden, a few stops in, there's a woman, and she was like fit and healthy looking and everything, fairly healthy and fit looking. And she comes on the train, and the man across from me, older than me, like probably, 15, 20 years older than me, got up from his seat and gave this young lady, who was probably younger than me, his seat. And that lady would have been perfectly fine to stand. She was fit and she looked like she was more than capable to stand. And I turned to the man after who gave up his seat for her, and I said, thank you for doing that. That was very nice to see. That you gave up your seat for that woman. And I said, I think that's really lovely of you to do that. And, I hope to see that more men do that for women. And he said, I can't. He's like, of course, I'm going to give my seat up to a woman. And he said, yeah, I know what you mean. Like, there's so many men sitting in seats that could be like giving their seats up to women, and they don't. And it was just like so nice to see this man. And I said something to him, because I find that when you give encouragement to people, when they do nice things for people, that it encourages them, and it also makes them like I know with my sons, when they do nice acts, they open the door for me, the car door for me, or things like that. I say, thank you. You're what a gentleman. Thank you. And stuff like that. And their face lights up, and it's nice to see their face light up. But also, I think if we give encouragement to people to do nice things like that, then maybe they'll want to do it more, because it makes them feel good. And acknowledging and saying thank you, it will help them to encourage them to want to do it more often. And I found that with my boys, that they like that. And I've been over to my friend's house a few times, and it has been raining when we left, and one of her boys will get the umbrella out and walk me to my car when it's raining with the umbrella, from the back of their house all the way to the front, and he walks me to my car. And that is so sweet. And I'm like, thank you. I always say to him, thank you. You're such a gentleman. Thank you. That's so nice, and I praise him, because I can see the smile on his face, and I can see that it makes him feel good to be praised, but also it makes him feel good that he's done something nice for someone else. And so that's what I do with my boys as well. I encourage them to do nice things like that and to be gentlemen. And then when they do it, I praise them for being gentlemen, in hopes that it makes them feel good and they'll want to do it more. So yeah, and then so I was like, okay, like there's one guy, like at least you still see it here and there on the train. And then a couple stops more, there was this older couple that got on. And this other man that was like many seats away, he got up off of his seat and he walked up to the lady and said, take my seat. And he walked her back to the seat and gave this lady his seat, even though she was there with her husband or partner or whatever, who was also very old. And the partner stayed standing because there wasn't any seats available for the man, but like someone could have, I was like really far away. If I had been close, I would have told the man to take my seat as well. They were really far, like really far down the train, so that's why I never gave my seat up. It would have been like ridiculous if I had to like walked all the way down and then been like, made this guy walk all the way back to where I was. I was quite far away. But yeah, if I was closer, I would have gave him my seat for sure. But yeah, so that was really nice to see too. This man who gave up his seat for this older lady. It was really nice. And actually, you know, I've been watching a lot of these YouTube channels that about people who live in Russia and foreigners like myself who have also moved to Russia. And something that a lot of people say about the train system in Russia is that a lot of the men give up their seats there for the women there. And you see a lot of that still there, which I think is just so lovely to hear that. I know people who have gone to Russia who have gone like on the train system say that it's quite clean and nice as well. And it's just so nice to hear those really, that there's gentlemen in the world that are still doing these things. And I think we should just like be encouraging that more because it's just so nice. So yeah, it was like, that's something I've noticed from watching these YouTube channels about Russia is that they still kind of like have that, that the gentleman on the train who that's quite normal there. Now, of course, I haven't been there myself to see it firsthand, but that's just like what I've heard from seeing some of these YouTube channels about people living in Russia. So that's kind of neat. But yeah, so that was kind of my experience on the train, and I have to go to the university next week, and now I don't have any anxiety anymore about going on the train or trying to find the university. It's pretty straightforward and easy, and actually it's like easier than driving really. And you know, parking is like $60 for 2 hours by the university. The train is much cheaper. And if it was more convenient to drive, I would probably still drive and pay the parking for the convenience. But actually, as it turns out, the train is more convenient than driving because the university is literally in the train station. So it's much easier for me to take the train, and it takes me right to the university. So I'll be going next week for my practical exam. And you know, I'm kind of proud of myself for doing something that I was anxious about, and I almost didn't go, and I almost gave up because it all just felt too hard, and I was going through some other things as well that really were too stressful, in my opinion, to even go. But I was like, this is ridiculous. You know, no, I'm going to face my fear and just go and sort it out. And the first day, I'm not going to lie, the first day was shit. Like, it was, excuse my language, it was bad. Like, it was stressful, and it wasn't a very good day. And I was counting down the hours till I got to go home. It was very stressful. It wasn't a very good day the first day. The second day was a lot smoother and a lot easier. And from now on, it'll just be that much easier because I've done it, and it'll be easier. And I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I didn't give up because I really wanted to. And this probably doesn't seem like a big deal to people who do this all the time because probably most of the people on the train, you know, get up every morning, get on the train, and they go to work, and they do that like 5 days a week or more. But I had some other things going on in my life behind the scenes that were really stressful on top of that added more stress to my life. And then doing these things that I was worried about and stuff was, you know, I also have like this dermatitis on my hands, allergic reaction. Like I've been dealing with some health issues that really were also really making me anxious about going because I thought, oh, no one's going to want to be my partner at the university because I have dermatitis on my hands, and like it's a really hands-on practice that we had to do working on each other as clients, and I was feeling anxious about that. Like, who would want to be my partner? I have dermatitis, like I have this, I've been allergic to something, and like an overactive histamine that's going on with different food allergies and things. That's just the dogs. That was, my son came outside and they didn't recognize him, but they barked and then they realized it was him and they're all good now. All good. See, guard dogs. They realized it was my son and they're like, oh, and then they're wagging their tails and licking them all over. So yeah. So don't worry, their bark was loud, but nothing bad happened. But they are really good guard dogs. So yeah, I was like, no one's going to want to be my partner. And I sat beside this really lovely woman who's actually like not too far. She's kind of from like my side of my neck of the woods, I guess. And yeah, we're from kind of the same neck of the woods here in Australia where we're living. And straight away she was like, do you want to be my partner? And like I showed her the dermatitis on my hands and I'm like, if you don't want to be my partner, like it's okay, I understand. Like, and she was so nice. Like she was so nice, this partner I had, and I have her as my partner for our exam next week. We have to work on each other, like do it's like vital signs and like range of motion and like all this stuff checkup, basically a basic checkup of the whole body type thing. And so yeah, she was just so nice, so lovely. And I was like, wow, this lady beside me, she's gonna make like such a good naturopath, you know. And I was like, there was only one other older woman like my age in the group. They're all like younger girls, and like a couple of them were a little bit snobby, like because I'm like this older, 42, you know, with kids, and most of them were like younger people. And some of them, like a few of them there, weren't that nice, like to me, and we're a little bit snobby. And it's fine, like no judgment there. It's whatever. I shouldn't make that judgment towards them. It was just kind of like the vibe that I got from them. I didn't really care at all in the slightest, to be honest. I was just like doing my own thing, and they're strangers to me, so I don't really care. Because like I don't even know them, so it didn't matter. But the girl beside me, like who sat with me, she was just such a beautiful personality. And again, I was like, thank you, God, for like putting this girl beside me, because she was so thoughtful, so nice, and just made me feel so comfortable to be partners with the health issues that I have going on. And it was just so lovely of her. So this girl's going to make a really good naturopath and just had such a beautiful personality. So thank you, God. And my teacher was really funny. She was like a comedian, and that was really great too. We joked around a lot. There was a lot of giggles in class, and I like to joke around a lot too. So there was a lot of giggles from her and I, like making jokes and things like that. So yeah, it was good. Ended up being good and not scary after all. And next time I go will be a lot easier to go to the university. It was a very good reminder of what the rat race is like. And I remember thinking like, I came home and then like I spoke to my husband a day or two later, and he asked how it was, and I was like, said about the first day, I'm like, it was terrible. It was actually terrible. Like, I don't know how people do that every day. And I said, it was terrible. Like, I'm glad I did it, but it was really an eye-opener. And he just laughed at me and was like, yeah, it's terrible, isn't it? Because he has to go, he works a lot. And he used to take the train to work too. He doesn't anymore, he drives, but he had to take the train for years, and that was just his choice of not having a vehicle and whatnot. But he works away, so it's like his vehicle just kind of like, we just pay for the rego and stuff for his vehicle to sit like 8-9 months of the year in like some parking lot in near the oil and gas rigs and stuff, right? So it was kind of pointless. But him taking the train wasn't that great, so we just like, but no, just drive. It's gonna be easier for the family, more convenient. But he was like, "Yeah, it sucks, doesn't it?" I was like, "Yeah." It just made me a lot more grateful for having the opportunity to be able to have a lifestyle that's outside of the rat race, and to just like do things at my own pace with my kids and my family. So yeah, anyway, I'll just leave it at that for today. Just some thoughts on my experience of my day in the rat race after being like 16, 17 years outside of the rat race of my experience back in it again. So yeah. Anyway, I will catch you guys on the next one. See ya.